Welcome to the Childhood Gen Z Trauma Iceberg. Just kidding, welcome to the Bendy Iceberg Explained. So here's the iceberg that I'm going to do. There's a lot of entries, so let's just get into it. Secret Jukebox. This is referring to the secret jukeboxes that you can find in each chapter. They each play a different Bendy fan-made song. Like one of them plays Build Our Machine. But if it's not this, then comment it down below. If my comments are not the bacon soup, this is referring to the food that you can find in the game. And it doesn't really do anything but except for eating and being used to throw against enemies. Before Chapter 4 update. So before the Chapter 4 update, Bendy used to look like this. I know, very ugly. But then when the Chapter 2 came out, he looked like this. And then when Chapter 4 came out, this is what he looks like now. So yeah, there you go. Hidden axe. I think it's referred to this axe right here, but I don't know. Maybe it's not. Also, fun fact, when you use this thing to get this axe, you could get a searcher with Sammy's mask on it, so that's kind of cool. But if you know what this means by hidden axe, then please comment. Old Bendy model. This is referring to this model right here, also known as Concept Bendy. He was never really used in the game, but he was in the archives chapter right here. Well, we're done with the sky, so let's go to the tip of the iceberg. Out-of-bound cutouts. This may be referring to this cutout of Bendy holding the sign that says, "Wandering is a terrible sin." Or maybe it's referring to this. This is a picture of where the Bendy cutouts go when you turn on the projector, and when you go back down, there's just nothing. In Chapter 2, Respawnable cutouts. This is referring to when in Chapter 2, when you destroy a Bendy cutout, when you turn to your back, it randomly just appears again. But this mostly happens with the Bendy cutouts next to pentagrams, because when you destroy one not next to a pentagram, it just randomly doesn't show up again. So yeah, 9 Bendy's Easter egg. This is referring to when in Chapter 2, when you go up into the balcony, you can see a Bendy cutout there. And then when you go back down, it's not there. If you do that 9 times, you get 9 Bendy cutouts, and that's how you get an Easter egg. If you go back down, all of them are in another balcony that you cannot enter. So yeah. Hidden recordings. This could be referring to Henry's tape in Chapter 3, or in an Easter egg where you can hear Sammy if you played the instruments correctly. Behind the poster Easter egg. This is referring to where in each chapter a certain poster can have a cutout of the Meatly behind it. And if you don't know, the Meatly is the creator of Bendy and the Ink Machine. So yeah, there you go. Well, we're done with that one. Let's go to the shallow waters. Deleted fan game. This is referring to a deleted fan game of Bendy and the Ink Machine called Bendy and the Ink Machine Downward Fall. And this is the game with fat borders. Now listen, I have no idea why this game was deleted, but if any of you guys know, comment down below. Bow and arrow minigame. Now I have no idea what this is talking about. I tried to research it, I didn't get anything. This could be referring to the gun minigame in Chapter 4, but I have no idea. Please comment it if you know. Secret filter Easter egg. This is referring to an Easter egg in Chapter 2 where you can get a searcher with a hat to follow you, and you can trigger the Sammy cutscene, but everything goes trippy, and now there's a filter over it, and the filter's kind of reddish instead of yellowish. So yeah. Secret box in Boris's house. It could be referring to this box right here in Boris of the Dark Survival, or maybe it's just referencing the box inside Chapter 3 where you could give Boris a bone. But that one's not secretive, so what the fuck did I mention that? Joey is Benny. This is referring to a theory about Joey being Bendy, and that's kind of a cool theory, but I don't know if it's true or not. So yeah, there you go. Now let's go to the 4th layer, aka the middle of the ice. Bendy. I'm not talking about that one. BABTQTFIM. This is referring to a webcomic called Bendy and Boris, The Quest for the Ink Machine, where I guess Bendy and Boris go find the ink machine. They meet some copyrighted characters like Donald Duck, Goofy, Mickey Mouse, Oswald, literally Felix, and also Cuphead and Mugman. I don't know why they're there. So yeah. 2D Bendy AU. This is just talking about the 2D Bendy AUs. They're just nothing good about that. Bendy versus Cuphead videos. This is just referring to those videos that have like Cuphead versus Bendy fighting or something. Banned in Russia. I guess Bendy and the Ink Machine was just banned from Russia. Let's go to the deep waters. Meatly stole an idea. I have no idea what this could be referring to, so please. Hot Topic Sammy Takeover. Why is this so down the list? But yeah, this is just referring to a collab of Bendy and the Ink Machine at Hot Topic, where they sold shirts over there, and they also sell the plushies over there eventually. Also, fun fact, if you go to the Bendy and the Ink Machine store, you'll realize that is shut down. I'm pretty sure it's because of some controversy that they got it. Bendy wanted to be killed. I guess this is just a theory. How to get a gun. This is referring to a weapon that you could get in Bendy and the Ink Machine Chapter 3, where all you need to do is take the demon path and don't die literally in the game. And then boom, you get the Tommy gun, where you can use against the projector and it can kill him very fast. Hidden voices when you die. This is referred to when you die, you can hear something go like... And when you reverse it, you can apparently hear a hidden message. Time for the bottom of the ice. Moaning in a hidden room. This might be referring to the searcher moan, but I don't know. Please comment. Now, this could be referring to two things. Either the Bendy and the Ink Machine and Dark Deception parody game, aka Ink Deception, where literally is just Dark Deception, just Bendy and the Ink Machine themed. Or it's referring to this video from the Glow Stink Entertainment, which is the creators of Dark Deception. So yeah. Golden Skin. This could be referring to the golden skins in Bendy Nightmare Run, where you could get Bendy, Boris, and Alice Angel as golden skins. Why the fuck did I stop? Also, there was a golden Bendy keychain that was very rare in a keychain blind bag series. Offensive birch? What? Okay, I have no idea what this one means, but if you guys do, then comment. Obsessive fangirl. I guess this is just talking about the fangirls. Time to go to the cold waters. Bendy is Wally theory. I guess it's just a theory about Bendy being Wally. Simpsons predictions. I cannot find any information, so if you guys know, please comment down below. Portal and Markiplier reference. This is referred to an Easter egg of Markiplier and Bendy and the Ink Machine Chapter 4, where if you put the little like thingamajigger that you can see through shit on a big ass Bendy cutout head, you can see Markiplier's mustache. Ask for the portal one? I do not know, so again, please comment. Everything is based on... What the fuck are... Build Our Machine is not the first song. Please end this. Also, I'm very sorry for only answering one thing on the cold waters. Hopefully I can answer some stuff in the last layer. Bendy is depressed. Cut my life to pieces. This is my last resort. Bendy related episode in Japanese anime. Oh my fucking god, kill me! It's another mistake. Cuphead Shade in Chapter 5. I feel like my storage is gonna run out. Bendy and Hello Neighbor crossover. Finally, something to talk about. But anyways, this was referring to a Halloween update with Bendy and the Ink Machine and Hello Neighbor, where they did a crossover where Hello Neighbor was in Bendy and Bendy was in Hello Neighbor. So yeah, guys, there you go, the complete Bendy iceberg. I'm sorry for the last two entries. They were like kind of hard to know because I keep researching and researching, but I couldn't find anything. So yeah, there you go, guys. Hope you guys enjoy it. And here's a little thing. If you want to rewatch the video, or do you do a drinking challenge where, like, if I say, please comment below, or, like, I don't know this, the drink. Boy, I love you.
Over the years, the definition of scary has been altered by these iceberg images. A YouTuber named Merc Music uploaded the Mario 64 iceberg. The numbers at the bottom of the screen will rank from 1 to 5 how sure I am on each topic. Let's go. The secret jukebox is something that I have not been aware of until making this video. I'm not really sure what this could be in reference to. I honestly have no idea what old bendy model could mean. It's just too vague of a thing. Bacon soup is something I don't know. Deleted fangam. If I had to guess what this one meant, I would imagine a fangam got deleted. Joey is Benny. I think this might be true. I don't know. But I can't read this, but if I had to guess, it would be in relation to Benny and the Ink. 20 Bendy, Australia. A long time ago, there were 20 Bennies in Australia. Benjamin and the Ink Machine actually has golden skin. You can see in the footage Benny getting his golden skin. Beckett is depressed. This might be a reference to Benny from Benny and the Ink Machine being sad in the game. I don't actually know what this means. I've never played this game. Number 7, cat eating whipped cream. Whoa. It seems that this cat is about to eat some whipped cream. Yummy. I wish I could have some of that whipped cream that cat is eating. Whoa, he's taking a huge bite out of it. A massive, big ol' bite. Wow, he must be really hungry.
Hey, I'm Matt Pat. In collaboration with my friends at the Leaderboard, we're bringing you 107 facts about Bendy and the Ink Machine. Now, it seems like a lifetime since Bendy and the Ink Machine Chapter 1 was first released. We've adventured through Joey Drew Studios in attempts to find the secrets that this old rubber hose animation studio holds. So pray to Alice Angel that the Ink Demon won't find you, cause we've got 107 facts about Bendy and the Ink Machine, Chapters 1 through 4. In case you haven't gotten a chance to play this wonderful game yet, Bendy and the Ink Machine Chapter 1 is 100% free, and it's available for everyone to play right now on Steam. However, Chapters 2 through 4 are $5.99 each and can be bought as DLC. Much like another popular indie game, Cuphead, Bendy and the Ink Machine's style of animation and character designs are based on cartoons from the 1920s to the 1930s, which is known as rubber hose animation. Rubber hose animation is known for its simplistic animation that's often paired with music, heavy settings, and simple designs. characters. The characteristics of rubber hose era animations are four-fingered hands, simple long-line rubber hose limbs, white gloves, and white facial marks. Bendy and all of his friends have these features. Mickey Mouse and old Disney Toons have them too. Including Bendy himself, there are currently a total of 6 cartoon characters that have been introduced to us so far. These characters are Bendy, Boris, Alice Angel, and the 3 members of the Butcher Gang. All of them star in the animated shorts for the fictional Joey Drew Studios. Speaking of that Butcher Gang, did you know that they all have individual names? Their names are Barley, Charlie, and Edgar. However, their in-game enemy names are Piper, Stryker, and Fisher. Just as Mickey and Minnie are Disney's star couple, many fans seem to think that Bendy and Alice Angel have some sort of romantic relationship within the cartoon canon. When asked about this, the Meatly simply stared into the camera and didn't give an answer as to what their true relationship was. We do have an idea of Boris and Bendy's dynamic. There are a total of 3 Bendy cartoon shorts that have been uploaded to the Meatly's YouTube channel. In these cartoons, Boris is usually depicted as antagonistic towards Bendy. He even steals his picnic in the animated short Tombstone Picnic. It's also important to note that while Bendy is a demon in-game, the cartoon shorts show him to be rather cowardly. Haunted Hijinks and Snow Sillies are the other 2 animated shorts available online, and both of them end up with the little fella scared and running from Boris. This actually sets up the idea that cartoon Bendy isn't nearly as menacing as his in-game counterpart. When his snowman melts in Snow Sillies, Bendy cries, and fans reacted strongly. Just because Bendy's an ink monster now doesn't mean that his snowman has to melt here. Come on, people! These animated shorts are made by Joey Drew in the game canon, but are actually animated by the real-life artists and animators who go by Time the Hobo and Sinner's Peak. Speaking of animation and artists, there's some confusion about whether Bendy has a tail or not. The Meatly often has to answer questions about Bendy's tail. He says that Bendy was originally designed without a tail, and that his official design doesn't have one. However, he doesn't mind the idea and won't object if fan artists want to give him one. And while we're on the subject of Bendy, did you know that his adorable alias is Bendy the Dancing Demon? Coming up with the name Bendy was actually an accident. The Meatly was working on designing Bendy's character model in the program Blender. By default, Blender saves 3D models by what's called .blend files. While saving, the Meatly accidentally pressed a few wrong keys and the model was saved as bendy.blend. Blendy! In the cartoon, Alice Angel was voiced by Susie Campbell. However, you can find out while progressing through the story that she was replaced by another voice actress by the name of Allison Pendle. Interestingly enough, the Alice Angel that you see at the end of Chapter 4 is named Allison Angel within the game files. The character that you play throughout the game, Henry, is actually voiced by one of the creators of the game, the Meatly himself. Speaking of creators, Bendy and the Ink Machine was made by 2 indie developers, the Meatly and Mike Mood, who joined in the end of the production of Chapter 1. The Meatly came up with the idea for the game by asking the question, what would it be like to be in a world that was a hand-drawn sketch? When the Meatly decided to test out his sketchy art style in the Unity engine, it turned out to have a much eerier effect than he anticipated, and the world of Joey Drew Studios was born. On the same note, the character Bendy was actually only created to enhance the game's atmosphere rather than being the star in it. In the game's infant stages, he was solely meant to add to the overall visuals of the setting, but as the game expanded, things quickly started to revolve more and more around the inky little dancing demon. Sometimes an unexpected development hiccup can work out in the end. When the Meatly first made Chapter 1 of Bendy, the game engine experienced a major crash and locked the project into continuous crashing. Fortunately, a few months later, he tried to open the project again, and lo and behold, it worked. That's lucky. Who knows if Bendy would have actually happened if the crash had remained. When asked if Bendy and the Ink Machine was based off of real-world events, the Meatly answered that some of the events and characters are inspired by actual historical figures, while others are alternative history. The vast majority of the game's events come from his imagination. When making the jump scares for the games, Mike and the Meatly played through the game themselves to try and see if they would be scared through the player's perspective. But because neither of them were scared, they needed to have playtesters. The playtesters helped them better gauge how to improve the jump scares. For example, did you know that in Chapter 1, when Bendy first appears, he was meant to chase you? But he didn't chase you because, in Mike's words, he looked derpy, and the playtesters just didn't find it scary. When asked about what struggles Mike and the Meatly had when making Bendy, their main problem was that they each specialized in opposite areas of game development. Mike Mood specializes in programming and game functionality, whereas the Meatly focuses on character design and story. Eventually, they found some common ground, agreeing that functionality and story are both equally important. Before Mike Mood became a game developer, he actually worked in IT for lawyers and doctors for around 7 years. He then taught himself how to develop games in the Unity engine through Google, and only had 3 years of experience when he began working on Bendy and the Ink Machine. After After a year of being self-taught and developing games, Mike was hired at a software company called Carmen Interactive, who are now contracted by Mike and the Meatly to program Bendy's official mobile game, Nightmare Run. Mike's favorite games growing up were Diablo, Doom, Heretic, and Hexen. In his adult life, he prefers Xbox because of the Halo and Gears of War series. The Meatly once worked in marketing as a designer, but never cared much for the job, so he taught himself game development in his free time. While playing Dead Space 2, of all things, the Meatly first got the idea to take a serious stab at game development. Both Mike and the Meatly openly acknowledge that programming isn't quite where the Meatly's strengths lie. The coding for Bendy's first chapter was originally done by the Meatly himself, but Mike took one look at it and decided that much of it needed to be rewritten. This is because the Meatly is an artist and wasn't looking into the optimization portion. According to Mike, the way the Meatly programmed the first chapter would only work on extremely high-end computers. He rewrote the code in attempts to make it more compatible and computer-friendly. The good news? Well, now the Meatly can truly focus on making things look even better. On the flip side, Mike's strong suit is not the story or the animation aspect of game making. They ended up hiring someone to help the Meatly with the 3D animations and modeling because future chapters contained so many new things. The Meatly Games actually dates back to a few years ago, and the two have been creating ideas together ever since. The two actually met each other on Twitter, of all places, because Mike was a fan of the Meatly's indie game dev comics. However, despite having already been somewhat established, the Meatly Games officially became the Meatly Games Limited after about 2 weeks of the first chapter's initial release. They realized that they had something special, and that they needed to do more for it in terms of both continuing the game and onward. The success of Bendy was actually a complete accident and entirely unintentional. The Meatly Games already had a major game in production at the time, and Bendy was only a quick project that took the Meatly about 5 days to make. They had the whole idea in mind, but never expected to make it past Chapter 1. However, a last-minute decision that the two made before uploading the first version of Chapter 1 was to change the name of the game Bendy and the Ink Machine Demo to Bendy and the Ink Machine Chapter 1. They did this to leave the game open-ended in case people wanted to see more of the story that they had in mind. And the rest is history. When asked about how many chapters the game is going to have upon completion, the Meatly answered that there will be 5 chapters in total. That means that we have 1 chapter left until the game is officially complete. But while we wait for the game's completion, it's important to talk about some of the little-known secrets that chapters 1 through 4 hold. In Chapter 1, the room that's across from Henry's desk includes a cute little detail. If you look at the closest animation desk to the bathroom, you'll notice that the little Bendy figure on the desk changes whenever you look away from it. According to Time the Hobo, the Bendy figure on the desk has 10 distinct poses, but it's difficult to find the 10th one, which apparently is very rare. Later on in the chapter, when you go to the projection room, you'll notice that both the animation and music that plays has changed from the previous versions of the chapter. Before this update, the song that played was called You Left Me in a Heartbeat. There's now a much cleaner looking animated Bendy who's accompanied by an eerie musical whistle, which was also used in the teaser trailer for Chapter 2. Another thing in Chapter 1 that'll always be interesting is that upon turning the ink machine on and walking up to the boards, when Bendy attacks you, he never actually chases you. He just sort of grabs for you with his hand before leaving. Even in the most recent update of the game, he never actually chases you, even if you stand in the same place for several minutes. It makes you wonder if he's even trying to harm you in the first place. In Chapter 2, after completing the new area with Jack Fane, a boss will spawn near the start of the level. The boss looks like a searcher with a hard hat. You can either hit him with the axe 4 times to kill him, or you can lead him back to where you killed Jack Fane and kill him in the same way to trigger a jump scare. There's also a glitch that involves the hard hat searcher. First, lead him to the portion of the game where Sammy Lawrence knocks you out. Once Sammy knocks you out, the searcher will take the opportunity to kill you. This forces the player into a never-ending death scene where ink monsters and even Bendy himself can't touch you. The only way to get out of this permanent purgatory is to just restart the game. Did you know that it's possible to get to the door behind Bendy when he pops up at the end of Chapter 2? All you have to do is walk backwards towards him and he won't spawn. Instead, you can make it safely to the door. You'll be greeted by the same ominous whistle that was heard back in the Chapter 1 projector room. Creepy! Another creepy but somewhat charming Chapter 2 secret is the way that you earn the Strike Up the Band achievement. In order to get this achievement, you need to turn on the projector in the music room, then run down to where the instruments are. You don't do anything and wait for the timer to run out. Once you return to the projector room, you'll notice that there's an additional Bendy cutout. You then repeat this process 10 times until all the seats are full of Bendy cutouts. Once there are 10 smiling faces staring back at you, you've earned the achievement. On a bit of a creepier note, note, if you decide to play the organ in Chapter 2 a total of 5 times, you'll be greeted by what sounds like a man in pain before getting the achievement called Johnny's Broken Heart. Let's move on to secrets in Chapter 3. If you pick up the bone in the start of the chapter within the safe house before leaving, you can then give it to Boris. Boris will then continue to walk around with the bone in his mouth until the end of the chapter. The achievement that you get by doing this is called Knick Knack Paddywhack. Give that dog a bone! It also lasts through Chapter 4. Chapter 3 is also interesting in that it gives you a path that you can choose, the path of the demon or the path of the angel. This path doesn't determine the ending of the chapter, but choose wisely. Bendy spawns more often on the path of the demon. In addition, you do get different audio logs, different ending screens, and different achievements based on which path you choose. The path of the demon will give you a recording of Joey Drew, while the path of the angel will give you a recording by Susie Campbell. Joey Drew's voice actor David Eddings is known for voicing Claptrap, a character from Borderlands. Co-creator Mike Mood voices Thomas Connor. So, since the Meatly plays Wally, in the new Chapter 3 tape recording when Wally and Thomas are speaking to each other, it's actually the two creators of the game talking to one another. In the beginning, a lot of the game's content needed to be taken out in order to hit the release deadlines. Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 were both made in only 6 weeks. Fortunately, with the release of Chapter 4 and several major updates, most of the originally planned content was finally added back into those earlier chapters. The creators also used the update to address technical issues. For instance, they decided to add a save feature in the newest updated version of the game so that it would be easier for players to return to their game file. This also means that whichever path you choose in Chapter 3 may affect you later on within the game. We don't know yet. However, it is important to note that if you're selecting a chapter instead of continuing a previous save file, you cannot save your progress. Along with the new save system, there's also a death screen that was added to the game. Now, whenever you die, you're brought back to an inky-looking tunnel that you need to walk through towards the light. Upon reaching the end and reaching the light itself, you respawn where the nearest Bendy statue is. To add even more spooks, in the inky death tunnel, if you listen carefully enough, you can hear eerie whisperings all around you. These voices are actually creepy versions of lines said by the main protagonist, Henry. As well as the new respawning system in place, a bunch of new gameplay components were added in Chapter 4. You now have minigames like the Test of Strength minigame, Bullseye Bonanza, and the Bottle Wallop. That's just satisfying to say, Bottle Wallop. These are all simple carnival games, but introduced a new gameplay element into the series. Another new integration to this series within Chapter 4 was the first ever actual boss fight. Woo! Gameplay! Upon entering Attraction Storage, Bertram Piedmont, who has somehow become fused with one of his amusement park attractions, will attack you. You need to hit the bolts on his octopus ride with your axe until they're all broken in order to escape. This caught many fans off guard, including myself, as nothing like this had ever been in the games before. It was awesome! Bertram Piedmont, before becoming the horrific monster that you fight in the game, was actually an amusement park designer who was commissioned by Joey Drew to make Bendy Land. However, as heard in the recording that Bertram made, he was less than thrilled about having to work for Mr. Drew. The projectionist, or Norman Polk, makes a return in this chapter as well, his debut chapter having been Chapter 3. However, after clearing the maintenance portion of the chapter, he will chase you to an angel station before Bendy himself will swoop in and kill him. Bendy looks at where you're hiding before dragging Norman's body with him, leaving behind the head. Speaking of killing Norman, Bendy isn't the only one who's capable of doing that. In Chapter 3, if you're stealthy enough and plan your hits, it is possible to kill Norman. You can kill him with the gent pipe with a total of around 72 hits, the Tommy gun with 16 hits, or the axe with 8 hits. Killing him will unlock the achievement, Norman's Fate. In order to get the Tommy gun, you need to change the ink blob near Sean Flynn's recording into the ink machine, choose the path of the demon, and then do all of Alice Angel's tasks without dying. Doing these 3 things will unlock the Tommy gun for the player to use within Chapter 3. In addition to this, you'll also unlock the Blazing Metal achievement. Mentioning Sean Flynn also brings up a very interesting fact. As well as being a merchandise worker for Joey Drew Studios, the voice of Sean Flynn is actually Sean McLaughlin, otherwise known as YouTube gamer Jacksepticeye. Top of the morning to you laddies! When trying to find a voice for Flynn, the Meatly had a very difficult time trying to find the perfect fit. At one point, he even attempted to do an Irish accent of his own before realizing that Jack has exactly the voice that he was looking for in Flynn. Of course, the extra icing on the cake was that both of their first names were Sean. Just spelled differently. You know. Did you know that every time a new Bendy chapter is released, there are updates to the previous chapters? Whether they be minor texture tweaks or additions to the overall chapter itself, with every release of a new chapter comes an update to the ones before it. The biggest updates, however, came with the release of Chapter 4. Chapters 1 through 3 had complete overhauls, making them look entirely different and had different gameplay mechanics added to them. For example, you can now play darts in Chapter 1, and the room that the ink machine first appears in is entirely different. When making the chapters, the Meatly holds a fan art contest. The winning pieces get to be incorporated into the game and featured within the credits. A lot of the posters that you see on the walls of Joey Drew's studios are actually drawn by fans just like you. Even the bathroom labels in Chapter 3 are from the fan art contest. As well as including fan art, the Meatly also includes fan songs within the game as well, which can be found by activating the various songs within the game. A lot of these radios are hidden pretty darn well and will get you achievements for finding and playing them. Among the included songs are songs by DA Games, Random Encounters, that I do the voice of Bendy for, and JT Music. Before you walk over to Norman Polk's tape on level 14 in Chapter 3, you'll notice another wooden crate with broken headphones on it. This is an Easter egg made by Mike Mood for a YouTuber named TZK Unit. After discovering a loading glitch in level 14, TZK Unit got so frustrated that he threw his headphones and broke them. After sending the video of it to Mike, Mike decided to add the headphones as a thank you. Chapter 3 was made by only 6 people in 4 months. In that time, they managed to add full AI systems with pathfinding, multiple animated cutscenes, hiding and stealth mechanics, over an hour of spoken dialogue, and much, much more. This was a major accomplishment for this indie studio. During the production of Chapter 3, a huge problem was the elevator. While testing the game in its infant state, they had problems with it trapping the player both outside and inside of it. This was the biggest hurdle that Chapter 3 had in terms of production. Due to a lack of financial resources, the toilet flushing sound effect that you hear in the Chapter 3 safe house is actually the sound of Mike Mood's own home toilet flushing. It was recorded and then thrown into the game. In the recent update to Chapter 3, a new area was added that should look pretty darn familiar to you. If it does, well, this is because the new area that was added to the chapter was the portion that was advertised in the Chapter 3 trailer. The little miracle station at the end of the new hallway even has the words, "Feel familiar?" written on it. Don't have a PC that can run Bendy and the Ink Machine? Well, don't worry! The Meatly Games has actually partnered with Rooster Teeth to bring a physical copy of the game to store shelves. They don't have a set release date as of yet, but the game will be available to play on Xbox One, PS4, and the Nintendo Switch. The Meatly Games is now able to hire more people to their development team, but they've chosen not to so that they can preserve their distinctive vision for Bendy. Because of this, both Mike Mood and the Meatly themselves are under a constant time crunch. They consistently stay up until 3 a.m. every night and supposedly live off of Mountain Dew, much like most gamers. You know those instruments in the hallway with the radio in Chapter 3? Tap them in this order: bass, fiddle, drum, violin, piano, drum. Then listen to hear Sammy Lawrence saying, "We've all been waiting, but now he will set us free." The game itself is made within the Unity engine, but there are several other programs that have played a part in what the game ends up looking like when it's finished. Photoshop is used to make the game's textures, while Blender and 3ds Max are used to bring the characters in the game to life. While we're on the topic of game characters, did you know that the projectionist almost didn't make it into the game? Norman Polk was at the bottom of the priority list when Chapter 3 was being made. Because of their strict time crunch, the Meatly was almost sure that he wouldn't make it into the first version release in Chapter 3. While in the projectionist's domain, you can actually see snippets of the Tombstone Picnic short playing through the section of the chapter. It's a very interesting and nice atmospheric touch that makes this inky hell feel just a little more like an animation studio. Did you know that Chapter 3 almost didn't release on time? The day that Chapter 3 was intended to release, there was an upload problem with Steam. According to the Meatly, the upload finally worked with only 3 minutes left to spare. And unfortunately, this isn't the only time that they've had problems with Steam. There was also an upload problem for Chapter 4, when the Meatly didn't realize that Steam didn't allow weekend releases. The game's original release date was set for the 28th of April, a Saturday, but ended up needing to release on Monday the 30th instead, which honestly came as a surprise for me because we were expecting it over the weekend. Despite the 2-day delay, the Steam reviews for Chapter 4 give it a score of very positive. Chapter 4 added new horror elements as well. Instead of getting cardboard cutout jump scares, Chapter 4 brought hands coming out of walls and bizarre looking flashback scenes. Aside from horror, there are also several funny and lighthearted achievements for the chapter as well. In this chapter, like all the others, if you happen to eat all of the bacon soup, you get yourself an achievement called Just Like Mom Used to Make. If you find and eat all the bacon soup in chapter 3, the achievement is called Bring Home the Bacon. If you find and eat all the bacon soup in chapter 2, the achievement is called Canadian Bacon. And last but not least, if you find and eat all of the bacon soup in chapter 1, you get an achievement called The Taste of Home. The first draft of Bendy and the Ink Machine chapter 1 was made within 5 days before being released to the public on the internet for free. According to Mike Mood, they didn't think the game would get anywhere, but because of a major Russian gaming YouTube channel, the game blew up in popularity. Since then, other big YouTubers such as Markiplier have uploaded playthroughs to their channels as well. Since the release of the game, the Meatly's YouTube channel has amassed 379,000 subscribers. The original trailer for Bendy and the Ink Machine has also reached 848,000 total views. The trailers for the chapters following all have at least 1 million views each, with the highest of the bunch being the Chapter 3 reveal, which has just shy of under 4 million total views. The main game was so well received that they decided to start development on a free-to-play mobile game called Bendy Nightmare Run, which will be available for both iOS and Android upon completion. They were even recognized by IGN as one of the best horror games of 2017, being up there with bigger titles such as Little Nightmares, Dark Wood, Detention, and Five Nights at Freddy's 6. Due to Bendy and the Ink Machine's popularity with the masses, they also landed a toy licensing deal with the company Fat Mojo, which is also known for making products for Steven Universe, Rick and Morty, Star Wars, and more. Fat Mojo even complimented and congratulated the Meatly games in stating that Bendy matches the same key points as Minecraft did in its early days, which really only further speaks to the popularity of this game. Unlike chapters 1 and 2, chapter 3 wasn't very well received by both YouTubers and casual players alike. Well-known YouTubers Jacksepticeye and Markiplier complained while playing the game, saying that it was too fetchy. This means that there was just too much running back and forth between parts of the level. To answer their fans, they released a mega patch a few days later that, in the Meatly's words, quote, completely reorganized the mission section, end quote. They did this to make the chapter a more enjoyable experience, as well as to cut down on how tedious it ended up being for the player. Despite the little hiccup that they had with chapter 3, the chapter itself, as well as the game as a whole, has a very positive rating on Steam. In fact, all of the chapters of the game have that rating. As well as receiving its fame on Steam, PC Gamer has called it inventive first-person horror. Screen critics called it thrilling and hair-raising for every player. Game Respawn has said that, quote, the art in the game is downright fantastic. Along with the reviews from these critics, Bendy and the Ink Machine has also sparked a lot of fan theories online, mostly within the YouTube community. For instance, My Show Game Theory has created 3 episodes on this indie game in an attempt to uncover its secrets. It's just that good! But the most positive reception is perhaps in the casual fans themselves. Mike Mood even expressed that the fans seem to be the most interested in the characters, as opposed to the actual story of the game. Though I gotta say, the story is what's attracted a lot of people too, myself included. The game's fans are so passionate that tons of them have cosplayed as Bendy and other characters from the game. Since the release of Chapter 3, there have been consistent demand for Bendy plushies. After several months of the team working to find the best way to make this possible, Bendy plushies were finally made available to the public. Of course, that didn't stop fans from making their own unofficial plushies in the meantime. There are also several Bendy and the Ink Machine Funko Pops, t-shirts, pins, magnets, keychains, action figures, and more. It almost seems like at this point, Joey Drew Studios might as well be Disney. During a merch promotion with Hot Topic, the character Sammy Lawrence took over Hot Topic's Twitter account for an AMA with fans. Sammy answered as many questions as he could without spoiling anything. We got some insight on him, Bendy, and even some other employees at Joey Drew Studios. And it seems like fans of the game aren't the only ones who like the merchandise either. Henry seems to be quite the Bendy fan himself. In fact, if you play with 25 Bendy dolls in Chapter 3, you get the achievement called Inner Child. There are also other playful achievements that you can get as well if you decide to take your time and play all the minigames to perfection. If you ring the bell in Chapter 4's Strength Test minigame, you earn yourself the Wasting Time achievement. If you get a perfect score in Bullseye Bonanza, you get a Bullseye achievement. And if you get a perfect score on the Bottle Wallop, you get a Call the Milkman achievement. Any Bendy fan knows that the games are packed with Easter eggs. One of the creepiest can be found within earlier builds of Chapter 1. If players hacked inside of the boarded room next to Henry's desk, you'll be met with a Bendy with realistic eyes holding a sign that says, "Wandering is a terrible sin." Maybe Real-Eye Bendy was a bit too creepy. This Easter egg is no longer in the game. In Chapter 3, if you listen to Alice Angel's dialogue, you can hear bits of other voices when she speaks. You can also hear the voice of Susie Campbell, who was Alice's voice actress. dangerous. This might imply that there are several souls trapped inside of Alice, especially since she described being in the ink as a buzzing, screaming well of voices. But perhaps the creepiest secret of them all is the true identity of the Meatly, which, by the way, the staff is required via contract to keep a secret. Is he a puppet? Is he a man? Is he Henry's voice actor? Is he a comic artist? Is he Scott Cawthon? Or perhaps, is he the creator and he's lying to us? Well, for his sake, I certainly hope that he isn't. It wouldn't be a very good thing to have all those wandering souls in Joey Drew Studios upset with you, now would it? Remember those theories I mentioned earlier? Well, if you want to know the secret identity of the ink demon Bendy, click the box on the left to see my theory as to the secret reveal of the end of Chapter 5. Did we miss anything? Comment below and let us know. If you liked what you saw, be sure to subscribe. I'm Matt Pat from the channel Game Theory, here with the leaderboard, your home for video game facts.